On the agenda, are there any bill introductions this morning? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and go into the budget reports, and we're going to start off actually this morning with Chairman Hoffman with the General Government Budget Committee, and I believe you're going to be starting with the Kansas Public Employees Retirement System. Chairman Hoffman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we're going to start with KPERS. KPERS requests a revised estimate of $73.9 million and 99 FTE positions in fiscal year 24, which includes $72 million or $72.9 million from the KPERS Trust Fund. This is an increase of $6.6 million or 9% above the amount approved by the 23 legislature. The majority of the increase is due to external investment management and consultant fees. It includes fees for basically, it's the fees that they're paying to the managers, which means that we have done very well this year, and so we have to pay them more for their returns. Management fees estimates are regularly updated to reflect investment experience and performance. It's an estimate raises, the revised estimate raises estimates from $35 million to $42.3 million, representing a 0.167% total asset increase. That was really the biggest thing to change on KPERS, and so the governor concurred and the budget committee concurred.
Committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2024? All right, seeing none, we move on to 2025.
All right, 2025, the agency requests $82.6 million, 99.4 FT positions, including $81.6 million from the KPERS Fund. That's an increase of $8.7 million, or 11% above the 24 revised estimate. The majority of the increase is a 3.9% increase from the Trust Fund for external management consulting fees. So they're estimating higher fees, so they went ahead and increased it by $3.9 million. So that management fee would go from $42.1 million to $46 million. It also includes a $3 million increase for continued modernization of the pension administration system. They anticipate that system will be operational for 2025. The governor concurred and the budget committee concurred with the governor.
Committee, any questions? Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to this modernization, could you, it's not fitting in my memory quite right. I thought we had already started that modernization project. So what's, and maybe I'm mistaken on that, but if you could give a little bit more detail, that'd be great.
Chairman Hoffman.
They're in the process of getting started with the project. It gets started this November, and then it's a 5-year process to get done.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, they did start it, but last year was just the RFP. They've selected a vendor now, so now they are starting the process, and it's a 5-year process.
Representative Sutton.
Excellent. That's perfect. Thank you.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Helgerson.
Over the last several years, we've made some continuous effort to try to pay down the debt that KPERS had. What's our debt now?
Are you talking about the unfunded actuarial liability?
Yes.
Because we do have debt. We have bonds that are out there, but you're referring to the
Unfunded
actuarial liability. Chairman Hoffman.
I'm checking it. It's in here on the,
Close.
it should say in one of the pages, and we're looking.
Just approximately would be great.
Okay, Stephen's gonna check for us.
Wiley's checking. The bigger question is the governor and the budget director made the point that they created a one-time funding opportunity for them by using FMAP funding of about $125 million, and then they put it into projects that they hoped would reduce the long-term expenditures of state general fund. You know, that was, they paid down debt in some places. They built a new prison, et cetera. Did you look at the idea of taking part of that money that we have in FMAP savings and paying down, or discuss the idea of paying down more Capers debt?
Chairman Hoffman.
No, we actually didn't. And the unfunded liability is 9.9 million, or billion. So we didn't talk about any more, paying down any more of the liability. We've put a lot of money into it in the last several years. The fund is in a really good position right now. And so, I mean, you will see when we get to the Department of Administration, there was some movement by the governor, but for some things, but we did not discuss it because we just didn't really feel like that at this time we really need to add more money. I think the fund is doing very well without us adding more money at this time.
Before I turn it back over to Representative Helgerson, what is the percentage of funding on the unfunded actuarial liability? Chairman Hoffman.
75%.
Thank you. Representative Helgerson.
I'm not going to make a motion or make any attempt, but I want to just make sure the committee's aware that we have a $9 billion debt. And, you know, we got past the crisis in the mind of the committee, but we're a long way from being financially stable. And when we have one-time money, and the idea and the objective then is to continue spending that rather than paying down debt, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what that does to us. So I'll leave it at that for now. Thank you very much.
Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for second opportunity here. I would echo the representative's thoughts on this matter. In my mind, it makes, and this is something that I think the entire committee is going to have to be dealing with when we're putting the budget together. I'm not exactly sure where this would come into the discussion, but the interest rate on a bond, when we're looking at things that were bonded at 3%, paying those off instead of paying down our liability in Capers doesn't make any sense to me on paper at all, because we're looking at more like 7%, if I am remembering correctly, 7 or 7.5 on the Capers debt. That's really what we need to be paying off. You pay off the high interest cards first, and I think that was one of the major problems that I had with the governor's budget. I love the notion of paying off debt. That's great, but let's pay off the high interest card first. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Tarwater.
Thanks. I'd like to tack on to what the ranking was saying earlier. I had the numbers run a year ago, and for every $1 billion that we put into Capers, and I'm sure there's a lot of diminishing returns there somewhere, but for every $1 billion we put into Capers to pay off our debt, we can lower our taxes by $80 million a year. Thanks.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Estes.
What's our total Capers debt right now?
9.9 billion.
Thank you. And what I see that we have a 7.1 million increase in investment fees. What are we currently paying in investment fees?
Chairman Hoffman.
Yeah, for 24, it's 42.3 million, and 25 was estimated to be 46 million.
Representative Estes.
Thank you.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Carlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, what kind of arrangement do we have to pay that management fee? It's an advisory board, I understand. Are they paid based on their earnings? There was a comment based on the earnings. They're paid on the earnings, like my private broker would be?
Chairman Hoffman.
Yes, it's under contract, and they get paid if more if they do well, and I'm sure there's a baseline that they get paid no matter what, but the better our returns are, the more the management fees get paid.
Okay, I just noticed that it was increasing extra,
I will also say we made 11.1% on our returns this last year.
It's
so
fabulous.
We did
That's-
very
that
well.
is- That is fabulous. My question, though, is we can't pay our bank commission board more money, but they're sure able to make more money on this, and they do the same kind of work. Thank you.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Ballard.
I understand the conversation, but, I mean, doesn't Capers still have their own board that review all of this and look at the rates, not just in Kansas, but nationally, everything else, and then based on that, I mean, that's part of the 11%, but it seems like, in a way, we're all talking about what we should be doing, but then there is a board of experts that are dealing with doing this. And did they make any comment about any kind of other investments we should be making?
Chairman Hoffman.
Right, there is the Capers Board, they're the ones that decide a lot of the, like actuarial rates, things like that. We didn't get into the investment part of it that much. We just mostly dealt with their budget. And so, I mean, I think if we're making 11.1%, I think they're doing a pretty good job of managing the money.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other further questions? All right, seeing none, Chairman Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of Capers' budget for 24 and 25.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Helgerson. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chairman Hoffman.
All right, we'll now go to the Office of State Treasurer. This agency requested a revised estimate of $85.7 million, including $2 million SGF in expenditures and 39.8 FTE positions. That's an increase of $47.7 million above the 2003 legislature approved. The increase is primarily attributed to the build fund and also an offset estimated decrease in expenditures necessary for the sales tax revenue bonds, food sales tax revenue replacement fund. The governor recommended revised expenditures of $84 million, including $2 million SGF. That's an all funds decrease of $1.7 million below the revised estimate. The governor decreased the SGF transfer to the Star Bonds Food Sales Tax Revenue Replacement Fund by $1.7 billion, from $4.7 million to $3 million. And the Budget Committee concurred with the governor.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2024? Seeing none, Chairman Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency requests $91.8 million, all from special revenue funds in expenditures and 39.8 FTE positions for 25. That's an increase of $6.1 million above the fiscal year 24 revised estimate. The increase is primarily attributed to increase in the Build Kansas Fund and then Star Bonds Food Sales Tax Replacement Fund. The governor recommended a revised expenditures of $145 million, all from special revenue funds. This is an increase of $53.6 million above the 24 revised estimate. That increase is the $54 million for the LAVTR and also an offset of decrease in the SGF transfer to Star Bonds Replacement Fund by $400,000 from $7.7 million to $7.3 million. The Budget Committee, we deleted the $54 million for LAVTR, and we also deleted the $3 million for the Star Bonds Food Sales Tax Replacement Fund. Now, with that $3 million decrease, I will just remind everybody that there's still $5.3 million left for that replacement, and every year we give quite a bit of money to that fund, and seems like it always comes back. And my understanding is a lot of these bonds are getting paid off early as it is. And we're also just talking about food sales tax, and a lot of these star bonds do not have grocery stores and things like that in them, so there's not a lot of liability there. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in addition to the fact that there aren't a lot of grocery stores, isn't the fact that we're not taxing food impacting that pretty significantly?
Chairman Hoffman.
What do you mean, impacting what?
Impacting the food sales tax revenue replacement.
Well, this fund is for us to put SGF to replace that. So like, let's say there is a grocery store in a Star Bonds. This is to replace that, what they would be getting, so that they can pay off their bond.
I had it going the other
Yeah,
direction.
you had it going the other
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Representative Carlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That answers my question, because we do have Star Bonds and we do have grocery store in it. So I knew there was supposed to be some method. I was just wanting to ask about it. Thank you.
Representative Helgerson.
Can you explain more, number one, and the $54 million that you deleted?
Chairman Hoffman.
Well, the $54 million that we deleted is the local ad valorem tax reduction fund that has not been paid since 2003. And the governor put it in her budget, and we didn't feel like we wanted to reinvigorate that fund after 20 years.
Representative Helgerson.
What's the statutory obligation that we have? What does the statute say?
Chairman Hoffman.
$54 million.
Okay. I'm not going to make a motion now. I'm going to just tell everybody my concern. The $54 million that has been eliminated is done because we put in a proviso. I put the proviso in when I was a state senator because we needed $54 million. I figured out that I could do that through a proviso, but the legislature has never changed the statute. The governor decided this time, and it hasn't been consistent, to put the money back in the budget and follow the statute. On Medicaid expansion, she also made the decision to put that money in, which we'll get to later on, which is against what our policy and statute is also, because you can't take federal money and put it into the budget and think you can put it there. It's like taking the cream on one side and throwing it out on the other. I think that we either have to make a strong policy decision and either do a statute change or and say we're taking it out permanently and let everybody vote on it rather than just go through the appropriation, or we leave it in. And when we get to putting the big budget together, I'll have some discussions about it. And everybody has heard that the major concern that we have out there in the general public is property taxes. Well, I don't want to make this partisan. I just want a good policy. So when the tax committee puts a plan together, we should have this as part of it in one way or another. But we build it into our overall financial plan. I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025 for the state treasurer? Seeing none, Chairman Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move the Office of the State Treasurer's budget for 24 and 25.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Helgerson. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Chairman Hoffman.
I'm going to have to start getting seconds together before. You pay attention. All right, we'll go to the Pool Money Investment Board. This one shouldn't take too long. I know, I just jinxed it, didn't I? Agency requests a revised estimate of $841,000, all from the Pool Money Investment Portfolio Fund, and 5 FT positions in 24. It's the same amount approved in 23. The governor concurred, and the Budget Committee decided we probably should concur too.
Committee, any questions? Seeing none, you may move on to fiscal year 2020. Oh, Representative Tarwater.
Got it.
I didn't really have anything, but since he jinxed it, I do have something I want to talk about for 24 and 25. Do you want me to wait?
you wait until we actually get
Got
through
it.
fiscal year 2025. Any other questions? All right, Chairman Hoffman.
All right. The agency requests 877,800, all from the pool money investment portfolio fund in 5 FT positions for 25. That's an increase of 36,170 above the agency's 24 revised estimate, and that is primarily attributed to the increase in employer costs of salaries, adjustments, fringe benefits, and to fund a performance audit. So they do an audit of I think it's every 2 or 3 years, and they estimated that audit would cost them $11,000. So that is included in that $36,170. And the rest of it, I think it's the pay plan, I believe, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it's 16,000 increased employer costs for salary adjustments and fringe benefits. So with that, I will stand for questions.
Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a possible proviso here. I do have a proviso if I can get it out right. The PMIB is apprehensive to make investments in the rainy day fund that we have, the budget stabilization fund, and because it's liquid. And so I'd like to insert some language that allows them to invest that. Because there's $2 billion sitting on the sidelines that we should be able to invest because we're not going to use it. And so I have a proviso that I kind of roughly scratched out. And I'm sorry I didn't turn this in, but been working on it in my mind. But when the ending balance, including the investment, including the budget stabilization fund, meets the statutory requirement of 7.5%, then the board may invest or shall invest 50% of it, of the excess ending balance, a minimum of 12 to 24 months, and may invest another 25% over 2 years, and that the fund retain the return on investment.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second on the motion? Representative Mason, seconds. Discussion on the motion. So just go through it. So you're going to take anything beyond 7.5% ending balance from the budget stabilization fund, have that be in I would consider a short-term investment. It's either 12 or 24 months.
They can invest half of the fund up to 24 months, at least 12 and up to 24. And then another 25% over 2 years.
I guess in a way I'm a little bit leery about going out for 24 months. 12 months I'm more comfortable with because that would be on a yearly basis with the annual budget for the state of Kansas. I'm just a little concerned about 24 months. Because we have no idea what might happen in that period of time, and we might have to dip into it if we would happen to be in a recession or anything. And if we have that money secured on an investment capacity, I'm a little leery about that. Representative Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, did I understand you right, though, but you said a certain level for 12 months, and then was it 25% of the balance could go out to 24? Is that right? Or they have the option of an either or? You might walk through that again.
Okay, so they shall invest 50% at 12 months up to 24, but you may only invest 25% of it up to 24 months.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay. And will there be restrictions? I mean, everything has to be liquid, I'm assuming, if so. Is that correct?
Well, I'm also apprehensive to go over, Mr. Chairman, I'm also apprehensive to go over 2 years because of duration issues in the bond market. If our liabilities come due before the bonds expire, we don't want any penalties. And so that's why I have half of it 12 months, and 25% of that can be up to 2 years. A minimum of 12, up to 2 years.
Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just trying to make sure I understand the moving parts here. That's all of that is the 12 months, the 24 months, none of that applies to the 7.5% ending balance that we will maintain as liquid, correct?
Representative Tarwater.
That is correct, and this only has to do with the Budget Stabilization Fund.
Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But that fund is invested I mean, we do invest those funds, so what's the difference?
Representative Tarwater.
Currently, that fund is being invested in extremely short term, and we could make more as if we got a longer term. Currently, 12 months is paying more than 24, but that may not always be the issue.
Okay, so I'm going to make a substitute motion, just by off that comment. I think for the cyclical process of the state budget, we need to have this analyzed every year. So I'm going to make a substitute motion that it is for a 12-month investment, and then we review it and look at it when we are constructing the state budget year after year after year. If you recall, we had the Budget Stabilization Fund created back in 2015, I believe, Jill, with zero balance. And we didn't have a balance in this account until just recently. And so I'm still very leery about going out for 24 months possibly. And I think we need to have this be 12-month maximum and have the analyzation done each year when we're looking at the budget. Do I have a second? Second by Representative Helgerson. Yes. And 50%. Any discussion on the substitute motion? Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had a question in terms of the 12-month window. What types of investment products are we looking at? Are we looking at a 12-month term type of a product, or having the flexibility to where we can do like overnight type investments, like real short term within that 12-month window?
I would assume I may turn it back over to Representative Tarwater as far as what the reasoning and logic was behind the initial motion, but it's would be my perception that it would be a short-term investment, very much similar to like you could have the overnight investments, or you could have a CD. I don't know if that, and it essentially would be the same thing, but Representative Tarwater.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Currently, they're in extremely short-term assets, and this would allow them to buy an instrument that would lock it down for 12 months, up to 12 months, no longer.
Representative Carlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wonder if we could change that word from shall to may.
We're on a substitute motion, so there can't be any changes made.
Well,
And
I
would
didn't
leave it,
hear your motion.
I would leave it at shall.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion in regards to the substitute motion? Seeing none, I close on the substitute motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are back on the budget. Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Seeing none, Chairman Hoffman.
All right. I will move the adoption of the Pool Money Investment Board 24 and 25's budget as amended.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion, seconded by Representative Helgerson. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Chairman Hoffman.
All right. Now the Human Rights Commission. Agency requests a revised estimate of $1.5 million, including $1.1 million SGF in expenditures and 20 FTE positions in 24. That's a decrease of $55,975 below the approved amount in 23. That decrease is due to a lapse of $35,000 to postpone software conversion for 2 Access databases to a more modern software. The governor concurred and the budget committee concurred.
All right, committee, any questions in regard to fiscal year 2024? Seeing none, Chairman Hoffman. Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sorry, I got my hand up slow on that one. I was still shocked to see access databases being listed out on paper. What a horrible idea that is. They are moving it to a more modern software. Is this being worked through OITS, or are we just freestyling it and finding something as fun as access?
Chairman Hoffman.
Yeah, so they are using a federal database that is free to us. The feds are paying for it. So the feds have a database. We can use it for, it's the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. We can use it at no cost. So that's the reason why there's a $35,000 lapse, because there's not a cost to that database, at least to the state of Kansas.
Representative Sutton.
All right, that's, I guess, beautiful. Was the access, was that also federally provided, or was that something that we thought up on our own?
Yeah, that was ours. Yeah.
Great. All right. And the, as far as the functionality of this new system, do we have any information, or are we getting something just as
No,
clunky?
this would be it's a modern system that the EEOC has. Yeah, it's not access. It's a modern software system that should work a lot better.
Wouldn't take much.
Well, that's
All
true.
right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any further questions in regard to fiscal year 2024? All right, Chairman Hoffman.
Agency requests 1.7 million, including 1.2 million SGF and expenditures and 20 FT positions for 25. That's an increase of 140,980 above the 24. That's attributed to 2 enhancement requests to increase contracts for mediators. The governor's total of 1.7 million, including 1.2 million SGF. That's a decrease of 20,000 below the agency's request for 25 due to governor not recommended one of the agency's enhancement requests for increased mediation due to inflation. So the budget committee did concur with the governor. So if you look on page 10, what they did for their legal service Midland mediation contract, that hasn't been increased in several years. It seems like it was like in the 90s, even, I think, if I remember rightly, when they said they increased it. So the agency gave the governor 2 different options. So you have mediation program number 1 and mediation program number 2. One was for $20,000 increase, the other one was $59,000. So the governor took the $59,000, and so that's the reason why you have a $20,000 decrease in what the agency asked for. And then, you see there was also some staff augmentation and recruiting services, some deletion in that, and so it's an increase in the mediation costs from $115,000 to $174,000. And these mediators, they usually are able to settle the cases a lot quicker, a lot cheaper. So it's well worth the cost to have them do it rather than us go through the whole process of the having the commission look at the case. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Seeing none, Chairman Hoffman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With that, I will move the budget for 24 and 25 for the Kansas Human Rights Commission.
All right, committee, you heard the motion, seconded by Representative Helgerson. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you, Chairman Hoffman. We'll go ahead and move on to the budget report out by Chairman Corbett from the Agriculture and Natural Resources Budget Committee. And the only one that you have today is the Kansas State Fair. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Chairman. This is the agency requested a revised estimate of $22.3 million, including $13.8 million in SGF and expenditures for 27 FTE positions in 24. This is an all-funds increase of $1.5 million or 7.4% above the 24 approved amount. The all-funds increase is mostly attributable to the agency's $850,000 in federal ARPA funding in 24 for security lighting, cameras, and an emergency command center. The agency's SGF request is an increase of $750,000 or 5.8% above the agency's approved SGF amount, attributable for 4 supplemental requests concerning lighting, cameras, ground maintenance, and administrative building upgrades. The agency request of 27 FTE positions, which matches the approved amount in 24. The governor recommended expenditures of totaling 21.8, including 13 million for 13 million SGF and 27 positions for 24. The recommendation is an all funds decrease of 500,000 or 2.2%, including a SGF decrease of 750,000 SGF or 5.5% below the agency's revised 24 estimate. The governor does not recommend adoption of 3 of the agency's supplemental requests and recommends the agency supplemental request for ground maintenance be funded with the agency fee funds instead of SGF for 24. The Joint Committee of State Building Construction's recommendation. The Joint Committee concurs with the governor's recommendation for capital improvement for 24. The Budget Committee concurs with the governor's 24 recommendation.
All right, well, you'll look on the Budget Analysis Committee that we do not have the committee's recommendation listed for fiscal year 2024. So the Budget Committee just concurred with the governor's recommendation.
Correct.
And it's also not on 2025. Does show it. Okay. Okay. The electronic copies, according to Dylan, do reflect the Budget Committee's recommendation. We are, I believe, getting new printouts of the ones that we have at our place settings today. Any questions in regards to fiscal year 2024 for the Kansas State Fair? All right, seeing none, Chairman Corbett.
Mr. Chairman? Troy?
Yes, Representative Landwehr.
I'm sorry, I do have a question.
Proceed.
What are the upgrades on the admin building?
Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Chairman.
Admin. No admin.
Admin building.
So upgrades in furniture, carpeting, and on the IT build, on the IT part of it in the building.
Representative
And how
Landwehr.
much is that? How much is that?
Just a minute.
Chairman Corbett.
Yeah, on page 7, it's $100,000 general fund.
On page 7, it's $100,000 general fund.
Representative Landwehr.
Okay, and then if I understand correctly, the only thing the governor didn't approve or your subcommittee didn't approve was the grounds maintenance. Is that correct?
Chairman Corbett.
Governor is not recommending
No, in 24, she cut it all out.
she's not recommending the ground maintenance. She's recommending to use fee funds with.
Mr. Chairman, are we only on the 24 budget right now?
Yes, we're only on 2024.
Thank you.
Oh, she's suggesting just using the fees from the fee-funded agency for that $500,000
For the maintenance.
for maintenance.
What's their balance in their fee fund?
According to the governor's recommendation, the balance will be about this fiscal year.
At the end of this fiscal year, it'll be about $325,000.
Yep, 343.
Representative Landwehr.
And What was the amount requested for the maintenance, and also what type of maintenance are we talking about?
Chairman Corbett.
And it's to add some, again, that can be found on page 3. Yeah, it's HVAC systems. And it's
Well, it says on page 7, the grounds maintenance and upgrades is 250,000 SGF, but that's to include repair and replace heating, ventilation, and air conditioning located on the Sunflower North and Sunflower South buildings.
That's correct. You can also see it on page 9.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just don't have those reports sitting here in front of me right now. So basically, we wipe out their fee fund pretty much.
No, they've got,
Chairman Corbett.
343.
it'll have 343 after they use that too.
Include.
after they use the 250, they'll still have 343 left.
Representative Landwehr.
343,000?
Yeah,
Chairman Corbett.
that's what I hear.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I thought you said that their balance was 325,000.
I might have
Chair-
misspoke.
Representative Landwehr.
So what is the current balance?
Chairman Corbett.
489,000.
I don't, well, the current balances can change every single day. They ended 2023 with about 494,000.
Well, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman Corbett, but if you look at page 9, it's saying that the State Fair fee fund for 2024 was $7 million, and the State Fair Capital Improvement Fund is $755,000. Is that a different?
No, but like, the balances change every day. It says here,
Page 5.
for 23, it was 475, 354.
It's 489.
I mean, what
The governor's recommendation.
what period of time does she want us, that?
They ended 2023 with 494,000.
So it's on page 5, State Fair fee fund.
Representative, they ended, was that 24?
They ended 23.
And 23 with 494,584.
Representative Landwehr.
I know, it's a different number.
Yeah, and I mean, we can take and deal with it, I think, when we work the whole bill, but I'm just concerned because that still brings that down into the 200,000 mark. And you never know what unexpected things are going to come up on repairs and stuff that have to be handled. So that would be my concern, Mr. Chairman. I won't make a motion at this time, but I think that, we should mark it as further discussion when we work the bill.
I was just gonna.
Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I believe if you look on page 5, even after the governor's recommendation on 24, and there'd be 411,000 left, and in 25, there'd be 489,000, or almost 490,000. So it wouldn't be 200,000 left.
Any further questions in regard to fiscal year 2024? All right, seeing none, Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Chairman. The agency requests $8 million, including $135,000 SGF in expenditures and 27 FTEs for FY25. This is an all-funds decrease of $14.3 million, or 64.2%, including an SGF decrease of $13.6 million, or 99%, below the agency's revised FY24 estimate. The decrease is mostly attributable to the SGF appropriations and capital improvements in 24 that do not occur for the FY25. The decrease is partially attributable to projects funded through federal ARPA dollars in 24 and do not occur in 25. The governor recommends expenditures totaling $8.5 million, including $635,000 SGF and 27 FTE positions for 25. The recommendation is an increase of $500,000 from all SGF or 6.3% above the agency's FY25 request. The increase is attributable to the governor's recommending 3 of the agency's FY24 supplemental requests move to 25. The Joint Committee on State Building Construction recommendation. The Joint Committee concurred with the governor's recommendation for the capital improvements for 24. And the Budget Committee concurred with the governor's recommendation for 25.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Hoffman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a while since did this, but I try to remember, don't we put a certain amount of SGF in every year for their maintenance fund?
Chairman Corbett.
Yes, hold on.
They move a couple $100,000 in.
We used to give him a certain amount when he was chair. Now we gave him the sales tax.
Okay. Sales tax. Sales tax, yeah.
Is that about it?
Yeah, but it's 300,000 instead of 100,000.
Yeah, $300,000.
That's from sales tax.
They get the sales tax collected at the fair.
And that makes 300,000.
Plus the estimate. Yeah, it's the estimate.
They get sales tax plus 300?
No, it's 300,000.
But we used to give him 100,000.
It's estimated at 300,000.
But from sales tax dollars?
Yeah.
Representative, it's about 300,000, and it comes from the sales tax that they now get to collect.
Representative Hoffman.
Okay, so after we did the sales tax, then we stopped doing the SGF. And that is what goes into that fund?
Capital Improvement Fund.
Oh, that's the capital improvement fund. Okay, that's not the other fee fund that we were talking about. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? All right, see none. Chairman Corbett.
Thank you, Chairman. I move that the budget recommendations for the Kansas State Fair for 24 and 25 be approved by the Appropriations Committee.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Representative Carlin. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Representative Helgerson.
Would the minutes please show that I abstained from that vote? I have a contract with them, and so I don't feel comfortable doing that.
All right, Susan, make sure that that's reflected in the minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the budget report out by Chairman Mason with the Social Services Budget Committee. Chairman Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple this morning. The first is the Kansas Guardianship Program, and with your permission, I've asked Representative Ballard to present that one.
Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our Kansas Guardianship Program. If you look at your budget sheet, I'll cover it quickly. The Kansas Guardianship Program is a quasi-state agency that was established in 1995. And the Kansas Guardianship Program serves adults who are without family or financial resources and who through physical or mental impairment or disability are identified by the Department of Children and Families or the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services as in need of a court-appointed guardian or conservator. The Kansas Guardianship Program recruits volunteers who become qualified, and they are trained by KDP to serve in that capacity. The state serves as the surety on the bond for volunteer conservators serving in the Kansas Guardianship Program. They receive a monthly stipend because they submit a report of $40. Often many do not accept, by the way. The program is governed by a 7-member board. I would also just cover it by saying that the guardianship volunteers provide guardianship for 1,288 different individuals, and approximately 717 volunteers are serving in the program. Over the years, they've had 5,200 Kansans have been recruited. They spend an average of 10 hours or more each month working on issues related to the person receiving the guardianship or conservatory. They also provide family members and do other kind of making sure people are very informed about what's going on in that program. I just want to cover one thing before I get to the budget so that you'll understand. In 2023, they had leftover funds, and that those funds were not used in 2023 because of salary expenditures were approximately $63,000 lower than the approved amount due to 2 positions being vacant for part of the year. and volunteer stipends were lower than anticipated because people did not accept them. But due to an error in these funds were supposed to be reappropriated, but they were not. And then the Senate did reappropriate them. The agency plans to use these funds for one-time costs associated with the replacement of the agency's business director and the executive director who are planning to retire in FY 2024 and for strategic planning initiatives. Just so that you know, basically, when I get to the budget, that Kansas is unique in the country in that on a statewide basis, this is an unusual program. Citizen volunteers are appointed guardians and conservators. And the Kansas Guardianship Program serves persons basically who are adult wards of the court. And 51% of the volunteers have served 10 or more years, and 78% have served 5 years or more. Now we get to the budget. The agency requests a revised estimate of 1.5 million SGF in expenditures and 10 full-time positions. This is an increase of 100,825. This increase is primarily due to a supplemental request of the 95,343 for reimbursement of leftover funds, which I explained previously. Additionally, there is an increase of 5,482 account for the shortfall in appropriations for the legislative pay plan in 2023. This adjustment would achieve the intended effect of the pay plan. The committee concurs, the governor concurs with the agency's FY24 revised estimate, and the committee concurs with the governor's recommendation in FY 2024. And we only have one notation. The Social Services Budget Committee recognizes M. Jean Cron for 40 years of outstanding service as Executive Director and congratulates her on her retirement in June of 2024.
Committee, any questions in regard to fiscal year 2024? Seeing none, Representative Ballard, you may move on to fiscal year 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency requests a revised estimate of 1.4 SGF in expenditures, and they still have 10 full-time positions. This is a decrease of 90,629 below the agency's 2024 revised estimate. The decrease is largely due to the agency's 2024 supplemental request for the reimbursement of leftover funds from FY 2023 that was not budgeted for in FY 2025. The governor concurs with the agency's requests for FY 2025. The committee concurs with the governor's recommendation for FY 25. And again, with the following notation, it is just our way of acknowledging Ms. Cron for 40 years of outstanding service as Executive Director and congratulates her on her retirement in June 2024.
Committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? I guess my one question is, this notation is in 24 and 25, and she's retiring in June of 2024. I'm not diminishing the fact of her service to the state, but why is it included in 2025 if that starts July 1?
Yeah, because they put it in here. But I guess we could just leave it for 2024, yes.
All right. Committee, any questions in regard to fiscal year 2025? All right, seeing none, Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move 2024 and 2025 for the Kansas Guardianship Program.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion, seconded by Chairman Mason. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Chairman Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So today we have the report out on the state institutions for intellectual disabilities, and as you probably all know, this covers Kansas Neurological Institute here in Topeka, and then the Parsons State Hospital and Training Center. The agencies request a revised estimate of $74.1 million, including $41.4 million SGF in expenditures and 956.7 FTE for FY24. This is an increase of $5.9 million, including $5.2 million SGF above the amount approved by the 2023 legislature. This is an all funds increase of 8.6% and an SGF increase of 14.2% above the approved amount. The increase is primarily due to a $4 million SGF transfer from KDADS to PSH and KNI on FY24 to provide shift differentials to PSI and KNI employees pursuant to the 24/7 pay plan. Additionally, the revised estimate also includes $590,749 SGF in supplemental funding, an increase of 7 FTE positions for Parsons State Hospital to restructure its cottage management team. PSH reports its 13 program coordinator FTE positions have a 60% vacancy rate due to requiring a 4-year college degree in human services and sufficient experience. PSH requests the 7 new FTE positions which do not require a 4-year college degree, only cottage or supervisor experience. Additionally, PSH states $235,139 of this funding would be used to increase other cottage management FTE positions to avoid wage compression. Lastly, the revised estimate includes $228,042 SGF in supplemental funding and an increase of 7 FTE positions for Parsons State Hospital to expand the dual diagnosis treatment and training services team. The team has 7 FTE positions composing 3 outreach service teams who travel throughout the state to train parents and community service providers to serve Kansans with intellectual and developmental disabilities in the community. Parsons State Hospital reports that it has a wait list of 51 individuals with a wait time of 4 to 5 months. The agency states 97.8% of the individuals who completed consultation with the team remained in their own communities. Furthermore, PSH indicates the expansion would increase the number of individuals served by 40 in the first year. The governor recommends expenditures totaling $73.3 million, including $40.7 million SGF in fiscal year 24. This is a decrease of $818,791, including $695,184 SGF below the agency's revised estimate in fiscal year 24. This decrease is due to the governor not recommending the agency's 2 enhancement requests for cottage management restructure and expansion of the DDT and TS team at Parsons State Hospital. The governor's recommendation also includes a decrease of 14 FTE positions to not recommend the 2 enhancement requests, and the Budget Committee concurred with the administration.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2024? Seeing none, Chairman Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The agency's request is $70.7 million, including $37.5 million SGF in expenditures and 956.7 FTE positions for fiscal year 25. This is a decrease of $3.4 million, including a decrease of $3.9 million SGF below the agency's revised estimate for fiscal year 2024. This is a decrease of 4.5%, including an SGF decrease of 9.4% below the revised estimate. The decrease is primarily due to the 24/7 pay plan transfers of $4 million SGF appearing in the agency's budget for fiscal year 24, but not in fiscal year 2025. The funds are requested in the KDAD's budget for FY25 and will be transferred to the agencies during that period. The decrease is partially offset by enhancement requests totaling $1.2 million, including $1 million in SGF to restructure the cottage management team and to expand the dual diagnosis treatment and training services team. The governor recommends expenditures of $70.3 million, including $37.1 million SGF for fiscal year 24. This is a decrease of $437,665 SGF below the agency's request for fiscal year 25. The decrease is due to the governor recommending partial adoption of the agency's enhancement request to restructure the cottage management team for FY25. The governor also recommends partial adoption of the agency's enhancement request to expand the dual diagnosis treatment and training services team. The governor's recommendation includes a decrease of 14 FTE positions to not recommend the additional FTE positions for the enhancement request. The Budget Committee concurred with the administration.
All right, committee, any questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you describe to me a little bit about what we're talking about when we say to restructure the cottage management team? It costs $1 million. I'm trying to figure out what we're doing.
Yes.
Chairman Mason.
So on the Parsons campus, the housing units are cottages. And there are about, I believe, 9 of them, and they house anywhere from 12 to 24 or 12 to 21 patients or clients as you wish. There are management team in place. The 13 positions that are in place require a bachelor's degree. And I can't remember the exact title, but I can find that if you wish. There's a mid-level management position that they're trying to put in there that would not require the bachelor's degree, and that would take up some of that slack. They were actually requesting 7 FTEs to do that, but since they have at least that many vacancies, that's why the FTEs were not granted, but the funding was.
Representative Sutton.
Okay, so we have funding for 7 positions that the FTEs for which were not approved by either the governor or the committee. I take it they're going to be using it out of existing FTEs?
Correct.
Okay, so 7 positions and $1 million. Is that what I'm seeing?
Chairman Mason.
Not certain of the dollars. Payne? $590,000, Representative.
Representative Sutton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 590,000, these are the non-college graduate positions, right?
Chairman Mason.
Correct. They're considering them middle management.
At $84,000 apiece?
Chairman Mason.
Correct.
Quite a gig. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative, they do have some vacancies.
Any further questions in regards to fiscal year 2025? All right, seeing none, Chairman Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move adoption of the budget report for state institutions for intellectual disabilities for fiscal year 24 and 25.
All right, committee, you've heard the motion seconded by Representative Ballard. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. Motion passes. All right, committee, that concludes all the items on the agenda that we have for today. We will be continuing with about 9 budgets tomorrow morning. So until tomorrow morning, we are adjourned until 9 a.m.